Something that doesn't get talked about much is how much what we see actually affects our perception of a sound. When we have a visual reference of something, it has a big influence on where we hear something coming from. And I think when it comes to Dolby Atmos, a lot of engineers are getting bitten by this without even realizing it, because a lot of times we're looking at our DAW, we've got a pan window open, and we just kind of hear it from where we see it. But that's not always the case. And I want to do a little experiment with you today so that you can kind of see some of this in action. So grab your headphones, because we're going to listen to some binaural audio today. So I just have a little recording of a guitar here, and I'm going to put it into the Atmos space, and I'm going to play it for you. So first up, I want you to listen to this. I'm not going to give you a visual reference at all. I want you to listen to it and see what you hear. So here we go, binaural audio, headphones on. So what did you hear? Is it just a guitar? Did you hear it moving at all? This guitar I have routed to an object right now. We're listening to it set as a near object in binaural. Now I'm going to play it back, and I'm going to open the pan window so that you can see what was actually going on. This is the exact same clip. So headphones on, here we go. So did you hear it moving from front to back? I mean, even with me having the visual, I don't really hear it moving that much. But to me, this sort of illustrates something I've talked about in other videos. Dolby Atmos does not emulate presence. As it moves closer to the center of the space, which is the theoretical listening position. When we're listening in headphones, that is basically where the binaural emulation is trying to simulate where we're sitting, is right in the middle. And as it gets closer, I don't hear it getting closer. It doesn't really change much. When it starts moving behind us, there's a little bit of a change here, but in general, not a big change. Now, in the room, it definitely feels a little different, but to me, I just hear it kind of going through and moving through the speakers. I don't feel it getting close to me. So you may be looking at the screen going, hey, I put it closer because I pulled it forward and off the wall. And that's not really how this works. Now, that doesn't mean you should never do that. I mean, sometimes it can be cool sounding to do that, but it can also create lots of phase issues in speakers for people, which may or may not be a sound that you like. I mean, I'm not saying necessarily it's bad. I mean, we're talking about art. So what feels good? What makes it do what you want it to do? What gets a sound that you like and find interesting and that will hold a listener's attention? I mean, at the end of the day, that is what's important. But bringing it forward, if it destroys the integrity of your sound, maybe that's not what you're going to want. So let's listen to a different example. So let me pull up another one. So once again, I'm going to play you another clip. I'm going to hide the screen so that you can't see it. So just give it a listen, binaural audio. So with this one, I don't know about you, but I hear it kind of moving to my left and then like moves past me and gets behind me, and then it sort of moves into the center behind me. Let's see if that's really the case. I'm going to open up the pan window now and let me play it for you when you can actually see what was happening. Now, when I have the visual, I can kind of hear there's that final move where it goes from the back to the front. I can hear that transition a lot better when I can actually see it happening with the panner. If I hide the panner, it's not a big change, though, sonically, so I don't necessarily register it quite the same way. Now, let me pull up. I'm going to use the Audio Movers. This is their binaural renderer so that we can actually listen to what would these same kinds of things sound like in Apple Music, because Apple Music uses a different method of creating the binaural experience for a listener. So let me switch over to that so that you can hear that. So again, headphones on, and I'm going to play it for you without a visual. All right, now I'll show you with the visual. So I don't know about you, but for me, again, when I can see the panner, that final move where it goes from the back to the front, it's a lot more apparent to me when I can actually see it. So what's the big takeaway? I think it's important to understand that what we see can have a big influence on what we hear. This isn't anything new. Engineers have been talking about how watching waveforms in DAWs can influence what you think you're hearing while you're mixing. Now with Dolby Atmos, we just have another layer of that because we can see the panner in here. But Dolby Atmos panning is just level. It's not really positioning exactly the way we think it might be. That's not really new to Atmos. That's just panning in general. Panning in most audio consoles, DAWs, it's just level. So what we have to remember is our listeners listening at home, listening at headphones, listening on soundbars, home theaters, whatever, car audio, they're not going to have that same visual context that we have when we're panning things. So just remember when you're mixing in Atmos, it's a good idea to probably close your eyes. Don't look at the screen. Don't look at the Dolby renderer where you can see all the objects moving around. Just close your eyes and listen and experience it the way a listener is. And then you can judge whether the intent of what you were doing with your mix, is that really going to come across to a listener? And sometimes it's a good idea, like before you even do that, go take a walk, take a break, take a nap, whatever you want to do. Do something to kind of reset your ears and then go back and listen to it blind. There you go. Don't let your eyes fool you when you're mixing in Atmos. If you got questions, comments, other Atmos topics you'd like to hear me talk about, please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. and I will talk to you soon.